Stevens, the host, alongside co-host Paul Tarek, making it 2 weeks in a row. You're on a streak, Paul.
It is. That's 2 big weeks for me, but I appreciate you starting off that segment. What is a hiccup in our giddy-up? I've heard of a hitch in the giddy-up, but what's a hiccup in the giddy-up?
It's the same thing, a hiccup, kind of get that no good. You can have a hiccup in a jump shot. You can have a hiccup in maybe that javelin throw.
Did you learn something at med school that we didn't learn here? Max, are you familiar with hiccups in your giddy-up? No, you're sorry. Outvoted 2-1.
Hey, we got to be happy to have Max Woodcock back. This was a kind of tough start here to his return, but Max, as always, getting us going. Thanks, Max. Last week was kind of a little bit of a goofy set, too. Paul, especially Paul Tarek here, he wasn't used to those short commercial breaks. He had to get back into the appropriate lingo and language. And,
I was asleep at one point, because I thought I had 5 minutes. I was asleep, and Rex is like, hey, we're back. I didn't know.
No rest for the weary, man.
No rest for the weary. I had to crack up a little bit, Paul. I was seeing a guy just a couple days ago, and I walk into the room, and he says, so what's up with living with the runs? And I said, what? He goes, living with the runs. How much conversation do you get out of that? And I said, well, you don't know Paul Tarek. We can get a lot of conversation out of that. Kind of missed the boat on the name here.
He was at home all week, and that's the best he thought of. He had all the time in the world to write stuff down and run it by friends, and that's what he came up with. That was his joke for the day.
Well, I was thinking. You know how it is, Paul. You've done some tough workouts yourself, and sometimes you get out there and it kind of messes up your digestive system a little bit. So I imagine some of the fans out here, those that listen to Live in the Run, and those that are out there trying to push the fitness barriers, have kind of dealt with that at times. Even good stories about where to release those runs out in the middle of a 10, 15 mile
totally
jaunt
unfamiliar
out
with
there.
Everything you're talking about right now. I know nothing of what you're talking about.
I had a guy the other day, who apologized for releasing some emissions as he was getting adjusted in his pelvis, and I said, emissions? And he said, yeah, nobody uses that word, so I thought I would use that one.
That's always good. It's always good to put a big word out there every now and then.
It is. It's kind of exciting. A lot of races coming up. We're hitting the fall season here, and of course, there's Lake Lopez. There's going to be that triathlon coming up towards the end of the month. We hit October, of course, always for the exciting Ironman groups out there. Ironman Kona will be happening. We got City of the Sea here locally. I know people training for San Francisco Marathon up there and half marathon up there. Was rock and roll marathons all over the place. A lot of stuff happening. Paul, what's on your calendar?
Oh, what's on my calendar? I was going to get in that Ironman, but then I decided against it. Actually, it's funny you should ask what's on my calendar.
I thought Lance Armstrong's spot opened up. Remember, he got eliminated.
Yeah, the lifetime ban thing. Yeah, that whole debacle. And I was gonna take it, but then realized that it wasn't going to work out for me. And my schedule just conflicted. No, I have. It's funny you ask what I have. I have nothing on the radar. There is a fundraiser that I will be attending though. I don't know if I've told you. The wife has taken up roller derby as her new hobby of choice.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
She's down there with 5 City. I think they're 5 City Roller Kitties or 5 Cities Roller Derby.
Okay.
And they're having a fundraiser. Let's see, what are all the dates here? September 6th, Mongo Saloon in Grover Beach. They're having a fundraiser down there. So if you happen to be in the neighborhood, I know you're a frequent to Mongo's. So. Stop on by.
I've actually never heard of Mongo's, but
You've never heard of Mongo's?
No. We're talking about a restaurant?
Yeah, it's like a restaurant and a bar in Grover Beach. You've never heard of it even?
Never even heard of it, but it sounds like it's a place to go. You're almost trying to
not that
over.
Not that it's a bad place, but you need to step out of Jaffa Cafe and head down and get some good burgers and some good grilling.
Hey, once again at Jaffa Cafe today, sponsor of Living the Run, Adnan, another great guy. Thanks to Adam today for making me a brilliant pesto burrito there. Love that pesto burrito. Good stuff. ESPN sponsors too, Jaffa Cafe. No,
Mongo's.
Oh, Mongo's. Pretty sad. Max just put the big sign up and said, "Man, you're just not paying attention."
Max was being very subtle about it, and Rex is over here pointing fingers, going, "Wait, what are you talking about? No, that we're not supposed to say that on the air. Wait, what?"
Paul Tarek, did you know that they were an ESPN sponsor?
I think everybody here knows that.
yeah, sure you did. Yeah, all your listening that goes through. Hey, I'm kind of excited about today's show, Paul, because it's something I've wanted to do since the very beginning, since taking this thing over from Ryan Ferran, and we just haven't had a chance to do it. And that's just you and I rap about health and fitness, things that are going on, things that maybe we could see change, maybe some things that irk you. I know not much irks you, Paul, and I know that you never get too...
I'm pretty laid back, and nothing ever bothers me.
God, Max Woodcock almost fell out of his chair there. We're going to have to strap him in, I think. Jesus. But, I know there's a few things that got to be on the top of your mind. Certainly on the top of my mind. We've got political scenes going on, and of course, there's not a lot going on with the talk about healthcare, because all you ever hear about is Medicare. But the reality is that there's a lot in the news, a lot out there. And, I just want to take this topic right off the bat. One thing that's bugging me, and it's going to be on the California ballot, is with regards to labeling of ingredients on food in the grocery stores.
Are you referring to the genetically modified or genetically engineered food?
Absolutely, the genetically engineered food. And there's kind of a push right now to eliminate having to put that out, on the packaging, whether it's animal product, whether it's, vegetable-based product, corn-based product, wheat, soy, whatever it might be. So it's a big topic, because we were seeing a lot with respect to that as far as implications on people's health.
Well, what implications are you seeing in the I'm not too abreast of the situation with the genetically modified food, but I've read a little bit on it, and this is my thing both ways, I guess. One, if it really is totally healthy, all natural, with the exception of the genetic engineering, and it won't cause any problems, then I could see them not being forced to put it on the label, because somebody might come in and scare tactics. Oh, I'm not gonna buy that because if it's no different, then it's no different. It's not a big deal. But I think that people don't have a lot of trust in big business and corporate business, and If you don't trust the corporate business, how do you know when they're going to be telling you, or they're not going to be telling you 5 years from now, well, that food, that green bean we told you was pretty healthy, turns out, not quite, are bad. So I think that, there's not really a line. It's not a black and white line. You can't say, well, you have to tell people or you don't have to tell people. It's just one of these things that, you're going to find. Unfortunately, what it's coming down to is it's going to be whoever's camp has more money to put into advertising. And that's really what it boils down to.
Yeah, and that's where it gets kind of scary. I mean, you look at some of these monocultures of growth here, where you've got acre after acre of corn, acre after acre of wheat. It's very, very unnatural. You would never have seen that happen hundreds of years ago, prior to the way that we farm now today. And so what it's done is, of course, it's created a whole bunch of insects, things that wouldn't ordinarily be affecting the plant life, which then, of course, increases the amount of sprays that need to be done, the pesticides, etc. And I think you go right to it, Paul, is that the drawback oftentimes isn't seen until 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And I think that the encouragement of needing labeling allows the person, or the consumer in this case, to be able to take a look and say, I either choose to consume that product or I choose not to consume that product, but not to be, if they don't want to participate in eating genetically modified food, they should be able to make that choice and actively say, I don't want to participate there.
Now, I have a question. How is this label going to be presented? Is it going to be like in the
it'll be in the fine print.
In the ingredients, is it going to be like GMO based something, or do they have to put like a sticker on it? Like the organic sticker that goes on things.
That's a great thing. I mean, it's a good question, and I'm not sure on that answer, and it's worth exploring, because you've got stuff like, I mean, just take for example things like trans fats. Trans fats became this big topic years ago, and of course everybody got on the bandwagon of saying, hey, we got to make sure that we're putting right out there 0 grams of trans fat. So go look at your Fritos bag, your Doritos, your Lay's, chips, all these types of things. Here's the problem. They got around it by reducing serving sizes, getting FDA to buy into saying, hey, no big deal. As long as the serving size is less than 1 gram per serving, you are allowed to say 0 grams of trans fat. So you're still buying the Fritos bags full of trans fats, but
now the serving is a half a chip.
Well, the serving may be not half chip, but the amount of trans fat may be 0.9 grams per serving, and therefore we call it zero.
Because they reduced the serving size from 20 chips down to 12 chips or something, or 10 chips. Let's go ahead and bring our serving size down to bring our trans fat numbers down, and then we can just round down.
Look, they're doing the same thing with MSG. They're doing it with aspartame, the artificial sweeteners, artificial salts. They're allowing for mimic names and so forth. The reality is that
corn sugar. Do you remember when we had this debate on corn sugar?
Corn sugar versus high fructose corn syrup
Yeah.
and the like. Hey, look.
Corn sugar sounds tasty to me, but that high fructose corn syrup, I don't want any of that stuff.
But here's the thing. Reality makes you more obese, more potential diabetic, more potential heart disease, etc. But again, allowing people to make the appropriate decisions and not trying to hide it from them,
but
I think is a good thing.
This is the big question. Does it really? Are people going to make the appropriate decision? I mean, it is a fine sliver of people that are going to do it. I mean, look at everything we have available now, everything we know about chemicals and the hormones they put in some of these products, and people still and they have an alternative. They can choose to buy either locally grown at farmers markets, and yet, I mean, obviously it still sells. They still sell all this other stuff that's bad for you. People still make that choice because it comes down to, if I can buy regular, it's funny, we have to get natural stuff with no preservatives. Like, don't do anything to that corn or don't do anything to that cow. I just want you to leave it alone, let it grow, and then, and then slaughter it. We have to pay extra for them not to put all the chemicals and everything else in it. And, the genetically engineered stuff is going to come out, and maybe initially it may be more expensive, but down the road it's going to be funneled down and it's going to get cheaper. And, people speak, money speaks. That's really what it boils down to.
Yeah,
money says, I really don't want that, but when it comes right down to it, you make your vote at the cash register.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and I still think putting it out there for people is an important thing.
Totally agree, but then where do you draw the line on what you? I agree with you, and if somebody said, Paul, you make the decision on this, I would say, of course, if it has nothing to hide and it's not a big deal, just put it on the label because people need to make an informed decision. That's where you have an informed public. That's a great thing. But I can't say that yes, the government needs to come in and make it mandatory for people to put that on the label, because then what level of it is there? Is there a I'm not one to say. I'm not an expert in the area. I don't know.
Hey, you listen to Living in the Run here on ESPN 1280, The Ticket. I think you hit a big topic, and we had a guy, and you can look back on livingtherun.com for these archives, but just a couple weeks ago we had Dr. Mike Hall on here, and he kind of showed the power of marketing and the power of industry, and he kind of pointed out the dairy industry, how big and how powerful those guys are, and with this concept of needing more milk for stronger bones, and he kind of pointed out some of the research that's suggesting when you start to end up with injuries, and a lot of our listeners are dealing with plantar fasciitis, IT band syndromes, different hip
a lot
issues.
Of that stuff is because they don't take care of themselves post-workout.
But here was the point: is that he was suggesting that when you start to put in more calcium into the system, especially sometimes things that are difficult to digest, which everybody knows milk is a top allergen for so many, that those calcium ends up in the soft tissue, increasing contraction of the muscle, irritating tendons, and creating more problems than it is good. But if you asked just about the average American, they say milk, and they'd say, what milk does a body good? Milk is good for my bones, if you will. And what he was showing is that none of that calcium that was being consumed in that milk during a time in which you have inflammation somewhere in your body will go to your bones. It'll do the exact opposite. It'll go to the site of inflammation. It'll end up in the soft tissues, and it'll just continue to perpetuate and create the mess. So tough thing, Paul, for your average consumer trying to get the right information here and make the right decision when they go to the grocery store.
Well, and then it begs the quintessential question of what else would you put on your Fruit Loops? What would you put on your Fruit Loops if you didn't drink milk?
Paul, I got a crazy story on that. I had this lady come in with her kid, and she was in there, and her kid said, "Are we going to go get some Fruit Loops after this?" And I kind of looked at her and I said, "You're not really going to get
you go
Fruit
get Fruity
Loops.
Cheerios because those are healthier."
Yeah. Well, that's Paul Tarek would maybe go get the Fruit Loops, but interestingly enough, she said, "Well, I'm not getting the regular. I'm going to go get the organic Fruit Loops. They have real
organic Red 40.
Yeah, they have real fruit in them. It's a tough deal because now you're looking at marketing at its highest level. We've taken Fruit Loops, we put organic on it. You go down the list, Cheerios, all these things, heart healthy, extra calcium, antioxidants, and all these things, and foods that really are poisonous for people down the line. And it's a disappointing thing. But just kind of thinking about it. I mean, I was thinking about just taking a box at home, boxing it up, putting some fruit in the box. Hey, how long is it going to last on your shelf? It isn't. So anything that can last on the shelf for months on end, again, we've talked about it before, a pretty decent book in the beginning of this whole thing, Common Sense in Defense of Food by Michael Pollan. If you guys haven't read this, you got to read it because it's so simple and to the point, but if you follow it, you get in a grocery store, you're more likely to make a good decision. And a decision that benefits, like you said, post-recovery after a workout to complement your stretching, complement your foam rolling, complement, those things that you're trying to do to rehab after a workout.
Did you by chance let this person know that if they're going to get cereal, they could get Cheerios or something, and they also sell fruit, fresh fruit, at that store that she's at, and she can buy that up and cut that in the thing, and then it's actual real fruit, not just advertised.
I heard of a study one time when I was in school.
I heard of a study too.
This microbiology instructor was talking about, they did this study with rats where they took 3 groups of rats, so they took one of those healthy cereals, like you said, cornflakes, and took the cornflakes, gave it to rats. They took the other group, gave them nothing. They took the last group and gave them the cardboard box from which the cornflakes came in. Obviously, the rats that ate nothing died first, but interestingly enough, the rats that ate the cornflakes died next. The ones that ate the cardboard box did better.
They just let them die. I mean, did they let the last group of rats at least live?
Yeah, that was the question for all the animal rights people in the back. It's kind of like, hey, did we reward them with some good grub then after?
They gave them cornflakes, and they gave them cornflakes, and then they died shortly after.
I'm not sure that's what they're doing in PhD research, Paul, but it was worth a thought. Good ploy there. But it is something worth looking at, and I think I talked to an architect not too long ago with this whole concept of going green, and that kind of whole idea. Look, you don't go green by buying more green wood or green products. You go green by using less. It's a fairly simple concept. Instead of a 5,000 square foot house, how about a 1,200 square foot house? Instead of consuming more and more and more, you consume maybe a little bit less or more what you need, and that's really the only definition of going green. And so I think some of these things have gotten a little bit distorted. Organic, green, some of these other topics. And again, I'm all for more labeling. I think it's an important deal. And, I think you got to be pushing for some more labeling too. Paul, you got a big voice.
I'm pushing for more labeling, more stuff to read. No, I just want that title on the top and something that says healthy and fresh and organic on it, and then I'm on board.
Well, that's it. Let's just close with that. I mean, that was something right out of Michael Pollan's book. It was, if there's a ton of stuff on the label, forget it. Don't even spend or waste an ounce of time reading. Back more with Living the Run. Paul Tarek, just a moment.
You're listening to Living the Run on ESPN Radio 1280 The Ticket.
Since 1929, Standard Process has been dedicated to providing the highest quality whole food supplements. Their philosophy is simple: to provide nutrients as they are found in nature. Today, scientists are finding more and more evidence demonstrating the benefits of whole food nutrients over high-dose synthetic vitamins. Standard Process's unique products are sold through healthcare professionals who are trained in using whole food nutrition as the first line of defense for the body. Visit www.standardprocess.com for more information or to find a Standard Process healthcare practitioner near you.
Hey guys, Paul Tarek from Living the Run here. As a former Olympian, there is only one place myself and fellow athletes go when it comes to chiropractic care on the Central Coast. With 4 chiropractors in the clinic, Slow Wellness Center is the largest, most comprehensive group of docs in San Luis Obispo County. I began seeing Dr. Rex Stevens back in 2005 for spinal adjustments to help maximize my performance, minimize my injury, and allow me to compete at my best. When the difference between a win and a loss can be just a fraction of an inch, perfect alignment in all joints is essential. One of the great things about the team at Slow Wellness is no matter where I had an issue, whether it was my spine, my foot, knee, wrist, or shoulder, they were always able to help. This team, made up of Dr. Rex and Molly Stevens, Dr. Sachs, and Dr. Bandolo, is sure to help you reach your health and fitness goals too. If it's chiropractic care you need, go where I go, Slow Wellness Center. Check them out at slowwellness.com or call 543-8688.
My name is Chris Randolph, and as a local track and field Olympic hopeful, I've been seeing Brian Quigley at Slow Wellness Center to help me with injury recovery during my season. Brian has not only helped me with some very extensive injuries, but has also educated me on the specifics of how my body moves when I compete. His knowledge and touch has helped me achieve personal bests in my competition and has also helped me in injury prevention. Becoming a wellness patient of his has helped me stop my injuries before they start, making time spent recovering shorter, leaving more time spent training for my goals. From injury prevention to wellness, Brian understands the patient and holistically helps them achieve their personal health-related goals. So check out Brian Quigley at peakperformanceslo.com and find him on Facebook and comment a response to this ad and get a complimentary 60-minute massage.
We're back with Living the Run.
Back for more here on Living the Run. Chance for Paul Tarek and I to kind of go after it, get a little on the health and fitness topics, raise the bar a little bit, get a little bit intense here. And, Max Woodcock in here at ringside to kind of regulate if needed. I did want to say, we got to be getting close, Paul, don't you think, to a nationally syndicated show? I mean, this is like some big-time stuff. I keep looking to...
There's one before us. There's one that could go on before us. We're pretty close in that regard.
Yeah, I keep looking to Max for some of these clips. I mean, we got to be able to archive some of that brilliant stuff from you in the past weeks. Naked rock climbing, I remember, with Kristen Horowitz and her husband. Remember they talked about that? We talked about that. They were talking about the mud run. See, you're the convenient memory loss there. You talked about swimming 20 miles potentially, Paul, or at least maybe a race with Dave Van Maurik. We still had that javelin throw, Paul Tarek, up at the Coconuts because you needed to make some electrolyte water. Remember that? I mean, these are all big-time stories that should be national. We got to be close. Have you checked in with Mike Chelson lately? Because
these are like vaguely familiar. That happened lifetimes ago.
I'm telling you, we got to be able to get these clips back on the show so we can just bounce right after them, get those listeners who are so tuned in, dialed in, looking for big-time information. I mean, where would they have learned technique to throw a javelin out in their driveway if it weren't for Living the Run?
Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
when the power goes out someplace, and you need to survive, if you got a javelin, you got a chance.
Well, we were talking about it. Remember, we were talking about ingredients at that time on the backs of labels, and the guest at that time had suggested coconut water and that kind of thing. But the reality is that all these companies have jumped onto it and they're putting out coconut water, but some with a list of 15 ingredients. Where's just coconut water? And
coconuts and water. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it was good stuff.
Something you got into in the last segment, right at the end there, was I think a lot of people don't. The world we live in, yes, in a perfect world, we would all eat stuff we all grow in our garden, and nobody'd be sick, and it'd be terrific. But the reality is, cost has a factor. Everybody looks at things and says, well, maybe I can afford some of that, maybe I can't. Maybe I can cook this, maybe I can't cook that. You're gonna make sacrifices along the way. I think the problem comes when people live a lifestyle of this, where they have to have, I have to have my Starbucks every day, or I have to have my 6 Diet Cokes a day, or I have to have, when you're overloading my favorite is the Diet Coke that they offer at McDonald's. It comes in like a 55-gallon drum. It's like, dude, it's not diet when you're drinking a drum of it. So it's like, I think the big thing is everything in moderation. It's not that it's good. It's just that it's not terrible. If you're exposed, if your body's healthy and you're exposed to a little bit of an illness, your immune system will fight it off. If your body's healthy and you go to like the sick ward at the hospital and lick the floor, you're probably going to get sick. It's kind of one of these things. Everything in moderation. You want to. Again, you don't want to have habits that are bad habits. You don't want to have habits that involve food that have so many preservatives in them that you can leave them in your cabinet for 5 or 6 years, and then come in and go, oh man, I remember I put this in here a couple of years. Oh, it's probably still good, and actually eat it and have it still be good. Because if all those preservatives in your food are keeping your food alive, keeping your food fresh that long, they can't be good for you. Or conversely, maybe they can make you live forever. I don't know, but.
No, there's no question about it. You're right on there, and I think that the hard thing, Paul, to look at there is that word moderation. What in the world does that even mean? It becomes a real tough deal because for each person, things are a little bit different. The reality is there's some people that just simply can't handle any of the dairy proteins. There's some people that just simply can't handle any gluten or can't tolerate any alcohol, and so the reality is that moderation is going to be different for each person. And that runs into exercise too, Paul. I mean, I know that when you were training, and I know that a lot of our listeners out there that are training, whether it's for triathlons, whether it's for 10Ks, 5Ks, marathons, what have you, is how to fine-tune that training such that your body improves its longevity and continues to get better rather than maybe starts to fatigue and now run into injury. And the same thing goes in the nutrition world, and it's not an easy deal. But the reality is that we do live in paradise here in San Luis Obispo. I mean, Paul, you can grow anything. You know, I was talking to Gabriel Frank today, and he's a guy that runs a company called Gardens by Gabriel. And Gabe is just a flat-out wealth of knowledge when it comes to soil, when it comes to reusable water, gray waters, and some different things, and really making your landscape an edible landscape and flourishing. You know, it's guys like that can say, guess what? You can grow virtually anything here in San Luis Obispo. I mean, almost anything grows. And so the opportunities here are really good. And so some people might even say, hey, well, I don't have a lot of property. But I tell them to go read Farm City. Farm City is one of the greatest books I've ever read. The author in that, female, is just flat out hilarious. But she shows how you can grow in inner city Oakland in an apartment with just a little bit of space, just a little bit of patch. She had a beehive, she had chickens, she had really a flourishing vegetable garden and fruit garden that really brought people together. And I thought it was a really kind of a neat deal. So Farm City is another good book. So here, San Luis Obispo, we have huge opportunities to not go to, and I don't want to knock any grocery store, but the reality is a lot of the grocery stores are shipping their stuff from South America. They're getting it before it's ripe. They're spraying the hell out of it, and then they're wrapping it in plastic, you know, and having it go for it. There's just no reason for that here in this county, and I think that we can do better, and it's something I think we should be grateful for on a daily basis.
Yeah, one of the things you just brought up, the gray water, it's a great concept, because that's one of the arguments that a lot of people have for growing here is that water is so expensive, especially in South County. You know, water is expensive. Yeah, I can't do it. I'm not on a well. I'm on city. I can't do it. But if you had a gray water system installed, I mean, yeah, it would cost money to have the system installed. But once it's installed, you're reusing, provided that you make good decisions with your soap and that kind of stuff. But you can reuse some shower water. You can reuse, depending on how you wash your clothes or what detergent you use. You can use laundry water. You can use water from down the sinks, and you know, it's all recycled. I mean, and in the end of it, you know, when you're looking at, really the only thing you're not reusing is the water that you're flushing down the toilet, and it's like, you know. It's an incredible amount of water. I didn't realize how much it was that you can use just to water your lawn even.
Yeah, it's phenomenal stuff. And you know, again, I'd encourage people to check out gardensbygabriel.com. This guy, again, you know, he's doing stuff on a level that other people aren't. And again, in the landscaping world too, it's another thing you see out there. People kind of promoting these types of things that they really actually don't know a lot about. But again, it's catchphrases that come out to try to draw people in to use them. But Gabriel Frank is one of a kind. He's a brilliant guy, and I've learned a lot from him and continue to and seek his guidance out when it comes to doing things just like that, creating sustainable types of gardens and sustainable things that you know, we don't have to worry about the GMO products because we could just consume right off our own land, which is a really cool thing. And again, not getting too panicked about it, just starting maybe with some tomato plants, planting a couple fruit trees, and slowly adding to it over the years and getting a system that really works.
What's Molly going to say when you bring home a cow? That's what I want to know. I've seen your new property, and you don't have room for a cow, Rex.
No room for a cow.
So will you be
for
vegan?
Chickens?
So you'll have chickens.
No, certainly room for chickens, and you know, who knows? We'll see what happens. We'll find somebody else that's got a cow.
You have two young
Paul,
boys.
I know you were in. Weren't you in looking for some new property yourself? Maybe 5, 10, 20 acres down there?
No, not quite.
Napomo?
Not quite that much.
Put several cows. Maybe even do your own dairy.
Even
some
if
raw
I
milk. It's a big deal, Paul. Raw milk.
Even if I found that many acres, there's no way I'd let you keep cows for free. It wouldn't happen. Oh, I'd charge you.
You could charge me. I'd be willing to pay as long as you're feeding them grass and you're not
feeding them whatever they find out in the field.
Well,
feeding them.
That would be grass, Paul.
You haven't seen the dirt out there.
That's usually what they find in a field. And you know what's so great about that? You know, one of my favorite books of all time, Folks, This Ain't Normal, written by Joel Salatin, runs one of the coolest farms. I hope it's a vacation we'll go on sometime. Not everybody thinks it'd be the greatest vacation. I do. Farm out in Virginia. But he shows the way his grasses are set up, and he moves his cows around the property constantly, lets the grass regenerate, brings the chickens in behind to tear things up and fertilize the lawn, which is kind of cool. But, you know, multiple grasses grow together. Once again, not monocultures of grass, but 4 or 5 different grasses that all intertwine really nicely, get his cows super healthy, and crank out. He puts out a great product. Neat guy, pretty funny. Folks, This Ain't Normal. It's one of the greatest books around. That's another one to check out.
Here's a thought for you. One of the guys I work with just bought a house, and he wants to have a sustainable garden. And he's looking at doing, I don't know all the details. He explained it in basic to me, but basically using the water from a garden, and all the runoff would go to this tilapia pond. And then using the tilapia and the nitrogen and all their ammonia and everything to take the water back out of the tilapia pond and water the lawn with it. So it's just like a general recycle and just a mechanical filtration system. I wonder if it would work. I don't know. Maybe Gabe would know.
Yeah, those things are set up actually all over the place. And in general, you know, I guess once you set up, they say that the amount of fish that you need in there actually to get going is enough to feed you for the year. I think they said a family of 4, or average a family of 4 to do that. And again, another sustainable system. I haven't seen one here locally, but I imagine there is somebody.
If he sets it up, I will take you on a tour.
We will call up Gabriel Frank again from Gardens by Gabriel. He's got some pretty darn cool stuff. Just neat guy to be around. But again, some of the varieties of stuff he gets are really cool. And that's one of the problems with some of these monocultures, etc. The way that they're doing things with soil. Again, one of my favorite documentaries out there is called Dirt, and kind of looking at some of the aspects of soil and how farming has changed some of that soil, even around the world. But some good stuff that he kind of gets, and some varieties that seem to be going away a little bit and are harder to get, whether it's vegetable or fruit. So neat stuff. Love Gabe, and love the possibilities that exist out here in San Luis Obispo, this Mediterranean climate. And here's the reality. People eating those foods will heal better. They'll perform better when they get these races on the calendar. They recover well. They feel well. They sleep well. Their mineral balances are good. Their vitamins are good, and much better than popping even multivitamins while eating processed foods.
Yeah, the one thing I would have to warn anybody against, and I've done this, is changing your diet entirely. Like quitting smoking or quitting drinking. You don't just go one day and go, yeah, I'm eating normal, and then say, you know what, I'm going to eat all protein. I'm going to do that. That didn't work for me. I tried that. It did not work at all. It was a miserable fail. Well, it lasted like 3 weeks.
Well, anybody who eats all protein is going to be miserable failure. This is just not an appropriate thing. But I think you're right there, Paul. You're hitting on something kind of good. Is that oftentimes I think people get frustrated, whether they're starting to take on exercise or starting to take on a new diet, whatever it might be. And the reason they get frustrated is because they see it seems as though the landscape of what they have to do is astronomical in making change. Again, weight loss, getting fit, changing the diet, what have you. So I think one of the greatest rule of thumbs I read, and I can't remember where I read this, but it was a great thing, is just to add things. Rather than take away things, just start to add. So, if you're a Diet Coke drinker, don't worry about that. Just start to add maybe some green leafies if you haven't been somebody who eats green leafies. Add an extra glass of water. Start to add things that are positive, and then all of a sudden you will start to take away. The same thing goes with the exercise. Maybe don't start with Bishop's Peak, but as you start to add 5 minutes of walking, 10 minutes of walking, the next thing you know, you're walking up Bishop's Peak. Or as our fan Samantha Pruitt, fan of Living the Run, she talks couch potato to ultra marathoner. I mean, she probably didn't maybe see ultra marathon right off the bat, but it was, hey, I'm getting off the couch. Yeah. Next thing you know, she's kicking butt, doing rim to rim to rim at the Grand Canyon. She's doing all these incredible races, and again, just adding a little bit along the way. And I think that's the good strategy. I think you're right on there. Don't try to make anything too abrupt too quick.
Yeah, I think one of the other things too that I really liked, the best advice I got for at least changing my eating habits was picking one meal and making that change in one meal. And then, you know what I mean? The rest of the day, you do whatever you want to, but for that one meal, you're doing something different. So it's a little more, instead of just adding one thing, it's a little more, 2 foot in the fire at that point. But, it worked out for me. It was easy for me to change my breakfast just a little bit. And then, you start to see the results of, wow, I do feel a little better after breakfast. Maybe I won't have that crap for lunch.
Hey, maybe it was just getting married to Shiloh. Maybe that was the best thing that could have happened to you, and some changes there in the diet. I know for me, the foods that I ate before I was getting married, much different choices. When you got a teammate there that's kind of holding you a little bit accountable and not allowing you to make some of those.
She makes a good meal, and I say, I don't know, babe, and she's like, eat it. No, I'm just kidding. No, she's terrific. She's been really good about it. She actually has gotten me thinking a lot more about it because she's in tune with it and she pays attention. So I need to be paying more attention as well.
We'll round out the show here, coming up here on Living the Run, finding out how Paul Tarek does just that, pays more attention.
You're listening to Living the Run on ESPN Radio 1280 The Ticket.
Puma Aquatics team offers year-round swim programming for novice, recreational, and competitive swimmers. For 16 years, Puma has developed some of the fastest swimmers on the Central Coast, as well as the nation. Puma has 3 convenient locations to choose from, providing programming for all of San Luis Obispo County. Puma offers swim assessments for new swimmers on Tuesdays and Thursdays at the SLO Kennedy Club, Atascadero Kennedy Club, and Arroyo Grande High School. For more information about Puma Aquatics, check out pumaswim.org. Join the Puma Pride and challenge yourself to reach new levels in your swimming. Puma Aquatics, where pride, passion, and persistence pay off.
The ultimate choice for sports massage in SLO County? Peak Performance. Conveniently located at SLO Wellness Center just blocks from Cal Poly, is ready to assist you to reach your personal best. Calling all athletes and fitness enthusiasts. If you're ready to start alleviating symptoms by addressing the true problems, if you are seeking efficient and effective body work, then you can count on Peak Performance. Nagging injury, losing the bounce in your step, pain or tightness keeping you from training hard and reaching your goals? Raise your standards, raise your expectations. Call Peak Performance 543-8688.
Folks, when it comes to the health of my teeth, I will not compromise, and neither should you. It's time you go where my wife and I go. Go see Dr. Ryan Ross. I get it. Not everyone loves a dentist, and heck, even a few of you out there are scared to death of these offices. Bad past experiences? Well, you ever had a bad haircut? How about a bad meal somewhere? You didn't stop getting your haircut, and you certainly didn't stop eating, so stop ignoring your teeth. Dr. Ross's gentle approach, calming demeanor, and office full of upbeat staff put your dental fears to rest. Conveniently located in a great little house on Marsh Street downtown, Dr. Ross's office exudes the highest level of professionalism, mixed with an atmosphere much like your own home. Look, nobody's in a rush here. It's not a get 'em in, get 'em out atmosphere. Every time I'm in Dr. Ross's office, it's like I'm the only guy that matters. No distractions, just full focus on my oral health. If you're interested in the highest quality in dental care and want to walk out of the office every time with a smile, call Dr. Ryan Ross today, 541-5800.
We're back with Living the Run.
Watching a commercial here. One a day multivitamins. Paul, remember we had Dr. Dan Murphy on. Were you here then, or was that just one of those absences?
Cloudy, very cloudy.
Everything's cloudy with Paul. You can almost never remember anymore. You miss so many times. But I'm confident. I'm confident you're back. You're in the driver's seat and going. But the one-a-day commercial and the multivitamins. Dr. Dan Murphy was on probably a couple months ago now. And interesting talk a little bit on multivitamins and how you can end up in a decent spot with some of them, especially some of the whole food-based multivitamins. But you got to worry a little bit about those ones that have excess copper, the ones that have the excess calcium, some of the unbalanced types of things there. And we were just talking in the break. Max had brought up some of these ideas of blenders and juicers, and what of a kind of cool thing. The Vitamix is often one of the top favorites. I call that the blender on steroids. That thing is fantastic. Really works well. You can look at some of the different juicers that are out there, and again, these are better ways than just trying to get back to that kind of pill popping mentality. Take some of those veggies, some of those fruits from the garden, throw them in the blender, throw them in the juicer, walk out the door, and good start. There's a great multivitamin for you that is sure to be more natural and sure to be more balanced.
I'm sure a couple of representatives from Pfizer would disagree with you about pill popping. I'm just saying. They might show up at your door later.
Yeah, no question about it. There's probably the same guys that are paying off those candidates in the politics right now. But let me talk
Before
to
they
you
used to grease palms, it was kind of like a backdoor thing. Now it's like they actually just show up and they make like a presentation. Hey, buddy, here's a big cardboard check. Vote our way.
Hey, I want to make everybody aware of an event that's happening called the Golden State Challenge. It's for wounded veterans, October 24th. Cyclists leaving San Simeon around 9 a.m. They're going to go down Highway 1, end up going through the Cal Poly campus and through San Luis Obispo, ending up out in Pismo or Shell Beach there at Shell Beach Elementary. Kind of a really great thing to be able to encourage our veterans, getting our veterans out riding, getting our veterans out and getting some exposure. So, again, something that we'll be promoting here going forward. Again, multiple races on the calendar. You know, one thing that concerned me a little bit there, Paul, is when we talked about your calendar, the memory, again, was a little bit gray, was a little bit vague, and you had to go to that iPhone to be able to pull up and really get any kind of recollection about what's happening going forward here in the fall for you.
I've been at home for 2 days with my son, and if you want to know what shape or what color comes next in the in the series, I could probably tell you. But,
yeah, you got the square, triangle, and circle down, red, green, and blue.
Green triangle. Green triangle, yep. Yellow square, blue circle. Hey,
in these last moments here, Paul, I want to give you a chance. I know this is one of your favorite things to talk about. I did this workout this last week. Again, it's kind of more of a CrossFit type workout. Push-ups, I actually started pull-ups, 10 pull-ups, followed by 25 push-ups, followed by a 400-meter run, 10 sets of that.
How fast was your 400?
The 400 I ran on the outside of the track and tried to keep them at 2 minutes. So I was in the outside lane, kept them at about 2 minutes.
So like 740 mile or 730 mile.
Yeah, probably somewhere around there. Doing 10 sets of that. I know you have those kind of issues with that upper body, lower body.
No, I don't have any. Oh, no. That's the only issue when we talk about it. You're referring to CrossFit, right? I think CrossFit is a great. I think CrossFit. Let's get that out there. I think it is a great workout. And it doesn't matter. I mean, I've been to CrossFit Grover Beach. Ben Green's been on the show a few times. He's a great trainer. I know the one in San Luis is I got a couple of friends that go there, and it's highly respected. CrossFit is incredible. The only complaint I have about CrossFit is explosive things till failure. Like Olympic lifts till failure. I just think that when you're bringing the general public into something like that, I just think it's kind of like pointing the car at the cliff and like telling them, just try to stop before you get there. It's a.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, Angela McGregor, she's one of my favorite people, track athlete. She's just super strong, darn strong, and she's been taking on the CrossFit since stopping track, and she's very, very successful. But when you look at somebody like Angela in there, kind of fits the build, fits the mold for the CrossFit. I know what you mean when you take Joe Blow that has been sitting down for the last 10 years, 8 hours a day, and tries to go...
power clean? What's a power clean? Yeah, just do them until you can't do them anymore.
Yeah, because we're complicated. It's kind of fun workouts. It's one of those things where you push the limit a little bit. You start to move things around, and so much more rewarding than what you see oftentimes in the gym, where somebody does a set of something and then sits there for 4 minutes in between and just works that one group of muscles.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with a good bicep workout, Rex. No, it's I think CrossFit is a great workout. The thing is, like anything, you have to have knowledgeable trainers and you have to have good leadership. It's if you get in there and you're just doing the same thing over and over and you're not really looking down the road, and you start to get overuse injuries. You have to have. Everybody has to have a season. You have to be training for something, or at least taking or at least taking a break at some point to let the body recover from that.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people have been doing it, like they've been doing it, 12, 13, 14 months, and then they're starting to complain that they're getting fatigued, and then they're getting injury after injury, and it's like, wait a second, the reason you started CrossFit was because there were things you couldn't do in your normal life, and now doing that is preventing you from doing the things you want to do in your normal life because now you're injured, so there's a fine line there that you don't want to cross.
Yeah, Dr. Mike Hall out of Dallas, Texas talked a little bit about that a couple weeks ago. That's a great podcast. If you haven't heard that, check it out on livingtherun.com. And he talked very, very much about that. One, diversification, but diversification not just in what you're doing, but also intensities of what you're doing. And then he talked a lot about really kind of, it was kind of funny, Adam Melhuse in here co-hosting for you, and Adam was up doing the Mexican hat dance here in in the back, I think, as Dr. Hall was trying to explain different moves to do and to see if you're symmetrical or not. And he was kind of just saying, hey, check your shoulders, see if the shoulders are symmetrical. Check the hips, see if they're symmetrical. Check the balance, see if they are. See if your back is similar side to side. And he had some really nice points, and Adam was there trying to check that whole thing out. And it was really good because oftentimes people are training on things that just aren't symmetrical or lined up. And so they end up with injury from overuse and overtraining.
Oh, I thought Max had something to say here. He was at his hand up. He was looking excited.
We almost had what do they call that? A dramatic pause?
Yeah,
right there. That was a dramatic pause. Paul Tarek. Gosh, that was kind of nice. Paul, you leaving the mic out there for Max.
I was
trying to give him an opportunity.
Yeah.
I feel honored right now. Very honored. I have to say, though, that was a very, very cool part of the interview segment that we had with him where, it's funny to watch him testing, leaning right, leaning left. Like, okay, if you're standing straight up and you lean completely to the side, like how far does one hand stretch towards the knee relative to the other? And I actually did some testing post-show, just curiosity, and found myself actually decently in line, which I was very surprised.
Better than Melhuse.
Better than I expected.
Yeah, he was in my office the next day.
Well, the thing is, it's not what I think people forget is not everybody is ambidextrous. I mean, very few people are ambidextrous. So we have a lot of.
He made that point.
Like if I'm right-handed, I do a lot of my all of my motions with my right hand, which means my left side is my stability side. So that's going to be the side that's flexing and maybe my right side are my push muscles and my left side are my pull muscles, and they're overdeveloped. So that goes to bilateral transfer when you're training, is trying to get in there and do things opposite-handed. If you shoot basketball, if you're a basketball player and you shoot right-handed, you should try to shoot left-handed, because one, you're going to get the things you're training yourself to do left-handed that you no longer think about on your right side. It's called bilateral transfer, and you're going to get that on the right side. You're going to gain a benefit from that. Plus, you're also going to balance out a little bit. So.
Yeah, he talked a lot about that, and you weren't here.
We threw shot put. We would throw shot left-handed. We'd sometimes throw disc left-handed just early in the season, just to line things up, and it always worked well.
Yeah, and we've talked to golfers about that. A lot of golfers will swing left-handed in their warm-ups. I think Adam was talking about that, doing some things, swinging the stick left-handed, and shoot, even sometimes maybe even on the track. Maybe doing some opposite runs on the track too,
That's a big one. That's
inside
a big
leg,
one.
Yeah, inside leg changed and outside leg. So you just flip flop those, making positive changes. Again, for our listeners and everyone, we want to try to prevent injury. We want to sustain longevity and constantly create improvement. So it's a good thing. Hey, what we really want, Paul, is we want all our listeners to look as fit as you do in that Living the Run shirt right there. That. Left Coast T-shirts. Sponsor of Living the Run, putting together a darn good-looking Living the Run shirt, but even more darn looking when somebody's as fit as you are, Paul Tarek.
Well, when you stuff a large man into a medium shirt, it tends to...
It doesn't go too bad. It's nice to have a little muscle, a little athletic prowess to it, too. So, anyway, always enjoyable here to wrap a little bit, Paul. I still think we need more time.
I can't believe you skirted the issue about healthcare. I really can't believe you avoided that like the plague. I was waiting. I was just waiting for that opportunity for you to ask that question, and I was just going to jump right out there with it. But you avoided it. That was a good job.
I have to say, I was just up in Oregon for my friend's wedding, and while I was up there, did a lot of hiking, and I was rocking the Living the Run shirt everywhere I went. Got a lot of comments. What's this Living the Run?
Yeah, what's this Living the Run? Yeah, we all should be living the run.
Max could have been honest and said, well, it's a show we do. But instead he said, it's a way of life that I've invented.
Hey, it is a way of life.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, it helps me stay meditative. It's a spiritual experience every time I wear the shirt.
And at the end he's like, yeah, and some show in California ripped it off from me. But
that comment would have fit right in with the mindset of that city. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, Paul, I don't see any time soon us going in this health and fitness arena to talk Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan, Barack Obama, any of those guys. Just kind of.
It's not talking about those guys. It's just talking about.
It just detracts from health and wellness and something that we just simply don't need on the show. We're trying to move onwards and upwards, forward, propelling, if you will, just getting ourselves going in the right direction. And talking politics just doesn't seem to do that. So no politics, no religion.
I'm just saying. I thought you were going to bring it up. I really did.
Hey, it was a good time. I always wanted to do this, and we're going to throw these in a little bit more often, Paul, where we get a chance to kind of hit some topics, rap a little bit, get to hear your Razor voice a little bit more. It is the Razor voice, not necessarily the voice of reason, but it's a positive experience here. And I know Max, I've seen him this whole show. He's been diligently pulling up old archive things for your memory, number one, but also for those listeners because they love some of this stuff that's been popping out of your mouth, some of the great ideas, things that are just, helping them live the run on a daily basis. So next week, more Living the Run, more things to help you live bold, to live healthy, to come live the run.